There we go. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank
Thanks for
you so
having
much for
me.
coming on today. You look amazing. Are you in your car?
I am in between sessions, right? Living the life.
That's how we have to do it. I totally understand. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. What we'll do is it is 11:30 now, so we are going to just go ahead and start. As people come on, feel free to like or comment. You can ask questions along the way. We can see a live feed of everything. We are hoping to answer 5 of the most common questions that Jennifer gets as an animal behaviorist and trainer. If there is extra time, we will go back through and see if there's more questions that we can answer. And if not, feel free to email either one of us. But hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Mayorga. I am the face behind Fitus Communities. If you're ever chatting with me on Instagram or Facebook, it is me that you're talking to. Fitus Communities are the first ever completely dog-centric luxury apartment communities in DFW, and we don't have any breed or weight restrictions. We instead allow all friendly dogs to live on our properties. We make sure that our residents have peace of mind knowing that their dog is always safe and can be cared for through a very unique set of both on-site and in-unit supportive services. And our greater mission is truly to open more homes for dogs to be adopted and to greatly impact the euthanasia rate. And we do that with our partner rescues and shelters. Jennifer here is one of our absolutely fantastic partners. She is an animal behaviorist, and she has Real Animal Sanctuary, where she saves dogs from high-kill shelters and gives them a chance at life. But she is also a fantastic animal dog trainer. And what we love about her is that she focuses on relationship-based training and positive reinforcement. So what I'm going to do is pass this over to you so you can talk about yourself, because I will keep going.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, thank you for the intro. Yes. So, I have to say, just in terms of myself, 20 years of just street dog rescue, which led to behavioral work. I have my master's in psychology. I have my CGC. I love continuing education. I love the science. I love bettering myself so I can help more people and more dogs. I live the rescue life with my nonprofit rescue and sanctuary. We really have focused on dogs that otherwise would have had to be euthanized for being feral or aggressive or extreme fear. And so rehabilitating them and showing sort of that process of the fact that they inherently are good. They just need the right support from the right people. That's been really rewarding. And I love to give back. And so a lot of my clientele is rescues. I do private sessions as well. We do Zoom, we do workshops, but I really think the driving force is education on understanding the way dogs learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know one of the main reasons that dogs are euthanized next to space is behavior or aggression issues. And understanding that that's not them, that's just a part of them, is huge. And they can be
Right.
saved. Every dog can. They just need the chance. So thank you. Thank you so much for what you do. So as
Yeah.
an animal behaviorist, you tend to get a lot of questions, and you get a lot of the same questions. So let's go ahead and start with probably the number one. How do I get my puppy to be less mouthy, less bitey, less nippy? Because it's cute in the beginning, but it doesn't last.
Right, right. So young puppies, right? They suck us in with those faces and puppy breath, and then as they develop, it's sharp teeth, lack of impulse control, very aware of what's going on, so they want to run after kiddos. And so, to your point, everyone wants to say, how do I stop them from biting? How do I stop them from being so mouthy? And really, at the end of the day, I like to try to help people think about developmentally. Puppies have to chew, and developmentally, they are very curious and they're wanting to be, they want to respond to stimulus happening around them. So, ball moves, shoes move, kids move, or even the chair, right? If they're teething, that chair leg looks pretty appealing to alleviate that pain. So, number one, we have to talk about management. If we're giving puppies too much freedom where they're able to chew on things like kids' toys and our shoes, then we have to stop and think about positive crate training. We have to think about those exercise pens, baby gates, creating a safe space and giving appropriate chews is just like number one great advice for anyone with a puppy. Number two, I would say that we definitely want to also give them enrichment, because dogs are energy and puppies have a lot of it. So really, really focusing on relieving that energy with training play, teaching them to tug and drop, teaching them to take the toy, really giving them a way to alleviate energy that could really be focused on chewing, where we can give them sort of a cathartic release for time to chew, time to play, and then time to rest. So we're going to do management, we're going to do lots of fun enrichment, and we're also going to really want to focus on basics. We want to have words that mean something to our puppies. So positive reinforcement is all the science is there. Dogs love to learn. We want to motivate them and teach them what to chew on. We want to teach them the words of like drop it and leave it, just for coaching them on good choices.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the biggest things about getting a puppy is, they're so cute when they're nibbling and biting. And the thing is that they need to do that. So you want to allow them to. You don't want them to think it's not okay. However, what they're doing it on makes the biggest difference. So, do you have specific chew toys that you recommend for puppies?
I do. I love, in terms of like bones and things, I love the rawhide. I love to coach people on, let's talk about the chemicals. Let's talk about that rawhides aren't digestible. So let's look at the healthy alternatives. Shout out Dream Bones, healthy alternatives, yak chews, / Himalayan chews. They're very like hard and large, and so they don't splinter. I find them to be incredibly safe, from just my experience. We do bully sticks. We do beef hooves. Those are natural and rawhide free. So really, I think that we want to have dogs learn what they can chew on, and bones are great. I love Kongs. I love to stuff them. I'll coach everybody into freezing them for that added extra 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yes, and then West Paw topplers and bowls, same thing. We want to stuff them with yogurt, peanut butter, canned dog food, and freeze them. And licking is naturally de-stressing, and chewing is naturally de-stressing. So again, we want to just think holistically about alleviating the developmental teething, helping calm down, right? Puppies are always kind of on. It's like having a kid at Chuck E. Cheese all the time, giving them those reasons to de-stress and focus and calm down are good.
Yeah, no, I love that. And all of those things that you mentioned can be found at pretty much any pet supply store. So they're very easily accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I love to say, hey, let's talk about budget-friendly stuff. Do it yourself. If you have an ice cube tray, you can always freeze, chicken broth. You can always make little yogurt cubes. There are things that we can do with stuff around the house as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you mentioned the frozen Kong trick, because that is huge and something that I tell people all the time. If they're like, I need my dog to focus for 20, 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, and what do I give them? Frozen Kongs. That's the way to go. They're licking. They're so into whatever it is. Stuff different things in between the Kongs so that there's different layers of fun, and they'll keep them going for a long time. Plus, in Texas, it's hot, and that'll cool them down.
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
Question number 2 you must get all the time. How do I get my dog to stop pulling on the leash?
Oh, I do love that question. Okay. Yeah, you guys bear with me. Pulling on a leash. Here's the thing. The second the dog learns that pulling on a leash gets them movement and gets them what they want and gets them forward, we've just taught them to pull. So I just really get clear on talking to people about, if your dog is pulling on a leash, then we have to absolutely stop walking. That's going to be number one. We don't ever want to reinforce the pull. I like to do everything positively, humanely, kindly. We have to respect how intelligent our dogs are. So having that treat pouch with competing motivators, it's exciting outside. There's smells and squirrels and people and trucks and all of the things that get dogs, interested in moving forward. So have the cut up string cheese, have the cut up hot dog, have their favorite freeze dried chicken liver treat. And when you stop walking, you want to call the dog back to you. Give them a reason to want to be next to you. Give them a learning history of the fact that you are also going to reward them for good choices. And there's a ton of things we can do. We talk about practicing leash work inside in a controlled environment so your dog can get it right. If we don't have a dog that knows how to walk beside us in a controlled environment with the least distractions, how in the world are we expecting them to then go outside and walk by us without pulling when the world is so interesting?
That is brilliant. I love that. Okay, practice inside as well. That's huge.
It's huge, right? Because it changes everything mentally for the dog, and they're actually getting the behavior right, and they're practicing it in a successful way. And then we try to say, okay, let's think of a microcosm of the big neighborhood or the big park that is just so interesting. Your backyard. Now everything you've practiced inside in your home, now we want to see if they can walk beside us in the backyard. Stopping pulling, practicing recall. And then when they're successful at that, then we do the front yard. So it's like little baby steps of this is how you walk beside me in all of these environments before we try to do too much too soon. And the dog is being a dog and very excitable on the walks. We're really setting them up to have that relationship building with us and learn that they are going to get reinforcement through praise, through affection, through treats, through our attention for being in that body position of beside us.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Is that kind of like the very first step then if somebody says, my dog's the biggest pooler ever, you tell them, hey, let's start inside your house and then we'll start taking baby steps to work towards the outside and then the larger neighborhood?
That is pretty much my method because I find it to be so successful. And I do get the questions. I mean, don't get me wrong. People say, well, I want to walk them now, or I want my exercise. Or I just want them to stop doing what they're doing. And it's really sort of our empathetic end. It's like, okay, would you like for me to tell you to stop doing what you're doing when you're enjoying your coffee or when you're enjoying, your music? So there are things that dogs need. They need to walk, they need to sniff, they need to do these things, but it's okay for us to kind of change the game and say, you're going to get to do those things with as much reinforcement because I'm teaching you to want to be beside me. The walk should never be about the human needing their exercise. If that's the case, go get your exercise and really focus on teaching your dog what you want them to learn, because this is a 15-year commitment. You don't want for 15 years to be leash popping, yelling, frustrated, thinking of like pinch prongs and using all of the aversives because you want your dog to stop pulling when you say so. We want to go back to, why are they pulling? How can I teach them the behavior I actually want in a way that my dog is motivated to do those behaviors? And I just really find that's the best recipe for that.
For sure. Definitely. I love that. And I think that's probably the biggest misconception about dog training is that people think you're a trainer. What's the easy answer? The answer is never easy. There's not just one way to get a dog to do anything. You have to start from the very beginning, from the basics, whether you have a puppy or a dog that you've rescued who's 9 years old and you have no idea what their history is like. You've got to take it back and really start with, okay, this is what I want to focus on. And it's going to take some time to get them there, and that's fine. But everyone has to be patient here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do think that people tend to push the pace, and that's sort of where we get frustrated and we sort of do the let's blame the dog. The dog isn't learning, the dog is just. And so I love the idea of really helping people if we understand the way dogs learn. Dogs speak reinforcement. What gets reinforced gets repeated. And the fact that we can do that in an inside environment when it comes to leash pulling first so that they understand what is asked of them and they have a reason to offer those behaviors. I haven't seen a dog not be receptive to that method. So
yeah, definitely. What do you think about people who don't want to use treats because they think it's just kind of rewarding or giving them too much good things if they're still just learning.
Yeah, that's actually, we could have added that to one of our top 5 questions. I think treats get a really bad rap. At the end of the day, dogs aren't people, and they don't speak the human language. So you're asking yourself, what are we using to connect our language and our wants to an animal? And that's where treats come in. I mean, I call treats translators sometimes. If I can't walk up to a dog and say, I would like for you to walk beside me. Okay. You know, what are we going to do to reach that animal who has behavior that works for them, right? We're redefining the fact that we matter, right? In a dog's world, they need a reason to want to be next to us and want to listen to us. We've got prey drive going against us. We've got DNA and genetics. We have adaptive survival. They did not make it by not responding to the environment around them. So they're very responsive to what's going on around them. So in my opinion, treats are just a reason to say, hey, I want to override that DNA. I want to override that prey drive. I want to help connect with you on a way because we don't speak the same language. And I'll even go so far as to say dogs love to work for their food. If anybody looks up the scientific research, when given a choice between free food and working for their food, most animals on this, this is a study, there's plenty of studies out there, they want to work for their food. There's an intrinsic value in working for it. So I love to add the science of that when people ask about treats. It should be a light bulb moment instead of, oh, we're just giving them food, for when they don't need it. We're actually really giving them a innate desire to work for food that they have anyways, and it gets us our goals quicker and kinder. So that's pretty much my spill on why are we using treats. And okay, lastly, we wean them away. It doesn't mean that you always have to have treats, and I think people have a misconception of that.
Yeah, I think I love everything that you just said. That's something that I also tell people is, if your dog maybe isn't somebody who likes treats, or you don't want to give them as many treats, use their food, use their kibble. Maybe give them half of their normal portion and use the second half as motivational treats while you're training them on something because they're getting actual food. You probably shouldn't feel as bad because it's not treats, it's not unhealthy. And they're still eating and they're learning while they're doing it. And so that's a really fun way to work around anyone who maybe doesn't want to give treats or as many.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, not to stay on this topic, but I've really started to try to help people think about, let's do human analogies. What do you treat yourself with? Ice cream, Netflix, vacations. We enrich our lives with treats, in a different form because it really is mentally makes us feel better. And I think our dogs deserve the same.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. Thank you. All right, so question number 3. I just adopted a dog, and I would like to know the best way to introduce them to my other dogs.
Yes, that is so important. Okay, so typically, I feel like people don't quite know about decompression, and sometimes they just go straight to like a meeting, here's my dog, I want you to meet my cat, whatever we're introducing the new animal to, dogs, people, cats, children. We have to take a big step back, and we have to follow, in my opinion, what we call decompression. If you're bringing a new dog into your home, the worst thing we want to do when they've had an environmental change, a routine change, they could be scared. There's a sense of unknown. There's almost like a threat assessment of, are these people safe? I don't know this dog. I don't know this home. I don't know these smells. That can really be inherently stressful and confusing. And when dogs are feeling that way, they can offer behaviors that aren't true to their temperament. It's just sort of a fear response. And then you get the call, you get the Facebook post of, there was a fight, or I tried to take him to the dog park and I got bit. It just really spirals down when we don't take a step back and say, we're just going to set up a safe space. And for a few weeks, I'm going to just let you smell. I'm going to let you observe. I'm going to let you settle. I'm going to let you start just getting familiar with who I am and what we do together. I think that's probably always step one, is creating the safe space and allowing some decompression. Even for the resident dogs, they don't know who's coming into their home. They need time to observe and smell and acclimate on their own terms. Everything is always on the human terms. I really try to help people think about, you have to look at it from the dog's perspective. They don't know each other yet. There's resources in the home. So giving the dogs too much freedom to be together too soon, they may not know how to share yet. They may not read each other's body language yet. Can one dog take a correction? We don't know yet. So let's not set them up to fail. Let's slow down, give them the safe space, and allow a few weeks of decompression. That's number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we continue with the plan. I love positive crate training. It gives people a boundary, right, where people can do crate and rotate so the dogs can get to know each other on a little bit more intimate level. You could also do that with baby gates. I root everything in safety, and so depending on the dog size and if there's any reactivity, baby gates can be jumped over, they can be knocked down. So I prefer crates to make sure we're in control of the environment and we set the tone for how the dogs are going to interact. We do that with tangent buddy walks, like, hey, we're just going for a walk together. Have your neighbor, have your boyfriend, husband, sister, coworker, all of your people. It's okay that we take things slow so you can read the body language on the walks. Can they look at each other and look away? Is someone play bowing? Are their hackles raised? Are they baring their teeth? The more time we take to gather that information, the more you're going to have a long-term successful integration, which is what we're going for. We don't want they got along for 3 months and then we took our time, they got to know each other. Every time we put forth like a structure for tangent walks or crate and rotate, the body language was healthy. That's what we're looking for. And then at that point, we progress, depending on the body language, to short, brief, and positive interactions. And that's really important, because what happens is things are going well, and then they let them be together for a full hour. So we went from safe space, management of the environment, slow introductions, and then 100% full freedom for an hour. I'm like, well, that was too much. Let's just do 15 minutes and end on a positive note so they want to be together again.
That's fantastic information. I definitely think that anybody who adopts a dog and has dogs or other animals in their home really needs to speak with somebody like you on proper ways for introductions, because everyone might just go about it the wrong way and just think, oh, well, they'll just meet each other and it'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and it really is unintentional. People have the best intentions, right? We adopted a dog, or we got our family, a new addition, and we're all excited, and we want our resident dogs to meet the new dog. And I think our emotions take over, and we don't quite think of it from the dog's perspective. And I tell everyone, love your dog behaviorally. Think about the behaviors and not sort of get caught up in our own emotion of being excited and wanting everyone to be friends right away. It's okay to take it slow. Yeah,
no, definitely. Something that you just hit on, that is actually the next question, was I'm not sure about crate training. Is it a good thing? Should I do it? I don't know if I like my dog thinking they're in jail. Some people think that. So what are your ideas behind crates?
Right. It's a polarizing topic. I've done several Zooms on it for different rescues, and you have people say, I would never put my dog in a crate. And then you have people that say, oh, are you kidding? I live by crates. So at the end of the day, dogs offer behavior: jumping, digging, biting, barking, lunging, running, all of the things dogs do. A lot of people we typically just don't like. We don't want our dogs to be reactive. We don't want them digging up the yard. We don't want them chewing on our shoes. So when you think about that, I love the idea of them having their own bedroom, them having their own safe space where none of that is an option. Why would we set up an environment for them to practice bad behavior just to get mad at them for it?
Yeah.
So that's one way that I try to talk to people about crates is it's okay that your dog has their own space. Now, do I suggest ever forcing a dog in a crate? Absolutely not. I just want it to be an environmental option. Have a
Yeah.
safe space, have that door open, make it rain chicken, boil some chicken ahead of time, drop pieces of chicken in there. If you do that 10 times a day for 2 to 3 weeks, your dog is going to go, I don't know when the chicken's coming, but I've learned that it happens just in this space. So we're just doing things in a way that really resonate with the dog. And I also really, I think about telling people crating is a life skill. What if you, God forbid, natural disaster, you lose your home, you know, fire or flood, and now your dog who's never been crated has to be crated at the vet or boarding? That dog is probably going to have a very hard time. So if you think of crating as a life skill, your dog's going to have to go to the vet. There may be some sort of emergency. Dog integrations, like we just spoke of, if you ever want to get a cat or if you have a baby, there are reasons other than us thinking it's bad that a dog would need that learning level of a crate is an okay experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think that referring to it as their safe space, their me time is really key for resonating with a lot of people because it is. And your crate doesn't have to just be an empty crate. It shouldn't be. Make it comfortable for them. Put blankets and pillows and their favorite toys and their favorite little stuffed animals and treats, and do the Kong thing where you freeze something and they've got something to do in there, and maybe they only get special treats in their crate, and that makes it so much more special. But there's times where you're going to need it, they're going to need it. It's a very important thing for them to have, and know that it's not a timeout area. It's just their time to be with themselves.
Right. I have a whole blog on it. So it's called Creating a Zen Den. I've tried to change the language there. You know, crate and kennel. Yes, that's what it is. But we want a Zen mind state and we want a den. And so that's on my blog, on my webpage. And I do try to I actually go into detail about what type of crate, placement of crate, sort of the things you mentioned about how are we adding layers of positive associations with the crate, with the enrichment, and you feeding them in their crate. So that's a good resource too for anybody who's
Fantastic.
unsure.
I will find that, and after I save the video, for anybody who wants to read it, I will link that down below, or
Okay.
I will find a way to link it. If I can't do it in here, I will link it somewhere so people can read it. Okay, so the very last question you must get all the time. My dog is really reactive, and I don't know how to handle his behavior. I'm scared he might hurt another dog.
Yes, reactivity. Gosh, I love
Big
them.
one.
Yes, yes. Reactive dogs are not bad dogs. I know just from the 20 years experience, you know, street dogs, shelter dogs, people's personal dogs, my own dogs, right? They are some of the sweetest, nicest dogs. But when it comes to reactivity, it's almost like, well, wait a minute, that's not my dog. You know, people will say to me, I can't control him then, you know, I don't exist. They are so fixated on the bicycle or the squirrel or the other dog that it's very hard for what I call them to be reachable and teachable. Okay, so what do we do? Number one, gear. They can't get away from you. Or it is unsafe for a dog that is triggered by whatever their trigger is to get away from their owner and their pet parent. So I personally like, check your gear. I'm going to say if you have a reactive dog, we want to make sure that the collar is fitting. There's martingales, there's slip leads, there's front clip harnesses, you know, make sure they can't get out of their harness. That's number one. Number two, though, is we have to remember that the closer they are to what causes them that strong emotional reaction, the harder it is to redirect them. So distance is your best friend. I tell everybody with a reactive dog, distance is your best friend. And what people don't think about, that's also probably equally important, what are the behaviors we've taught them when you don't need them, right? So practice behavior when you don't need it, so that when you do, your reactive dog can offer it more fluently. What I mean by that, emergency U-turns. We don't want to wait until our 70-pound reactive dog is trying to go after another dog to practice a U-turn. You want it
Yeah.
to be so fluent and so conditioned because you've practiced it daily in your home, in the backyard, at grandma's house, at wherever you are. We want to know that we have led them into an alternative behavior of turning away from something. So reactive dogs should have really strong U-turns. It's really easy to teach too. It's just about luring. So you would literally take like cut up hot dog if your dog is food motivated. If they have a favorite squeaky toy, you get them excited about the toy, or you present the hot dog to their nose, and you literally turn around, and when the dog turns, you just say, you mark it, yes, and then they get a tug, and then they get a hot dog. So my point being is that a reactive dog, if they're close to the other dog, they're not reachable and teachable. So practice leave-its, practice U-turns, practice looks, eye contact, where they can disengage from their triggers and check back in with you.
Yeah.
Because the more prepared you are, a lot of owners freeze. A lot of owners try to get their dog to sit while the trigger is still in the dog's mind.
And visible.
Invisible.
Invisible.
Behavior starts mentally. So if we can mentally have the confidence of, when my reactive dog is doing X, I'm going to do Y, because I've practiced it in my handling skills, and you've practiced it with your dog, you are that much further ahead from helping them disengage and getting them back to where you matter, and getting them where they can offer those looks and more connection with you, and less worried about that trigger that caused them to be so reactive.
Yeah, definitely. You've got such a really great insight and way of explaining things to people. And I appreciate you answering all these questions and making it very simple and understanding for both sides of the leash.
Yeah, thank you. That is important, right? I want people, dog training can be intimidating. You look at all the YouTube videos, there's scientific words. And so at the end of the day, I want people to feel empowered and excited and know that these things are possible for them and their dogs.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why you're such a fantastic partner of ours. And I want to thank you. I know that you have a session right now, so you have to go. There's no time for extra questions today, but we'll definitely have Jennifer back here. I'm going to link everything down below for you guys as well. But I want to just end off by saying that Jennifer is a partner of Fidus Communities, and with that, she is part of our fantastic Give Back program. Jennifer, do you want to explain what that is maybe?
Yeah, sure. So one of the, obviously, Fidus is great to partner with, because I respect and admire the fact that there's finally a community that is really, really meeting the needs of dogs and the people that love them, right? But also they are giving back. And so for my nonprofit, if you mention Real Animal Sanctuary and Behavioral Solutions, at the time of signing over, that you found your home with them, you get a $50 discount, and then they give back to our nonprofit a $200 donation, which we have 4 vet bills coming up. We're trying to get a weatherproof cattery. I mean, there's so much to be doing when you're constantly giving for the animals in need. So we appreciate the Give Back program, and if you guys mention it, it benefits you and it benefits us.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. We hope to make the world a much better place by opening up our communities. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Jennifer, thank you. You were fantastic. And I hope to see you again very, very soon, another live here.
Yes, thank you for the space of connecting. I appreciate y'all.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.